In this video, you'll learn how to make beats using free software that works on Mac, Windows, and Chromebook. Hey everyone, this is Eric Howe. Welcome to Mixed Major Teacher TV. And if you're new here and you're a music teacher that's interested in learning music technology so you can empower children with musical creativity, make sure you subscribe and ring the notification bell because I put out new videos on this channel every 2 weeks. In this video, you'll be making beats using Bandlab. It's a free web-based digital audio workstation that works on Windows, Mac, and Chromebook. To complete this tutorial, all you'll need is a computer with some speakers or headphones, an internet connection, and an email account to create your Bandlab account. And it's also best if you have a MIDI keyboard for this tutorial. If you don't, that's fine. You'll also learn how to make beats without one. First, I'll start with a lesson on concepts. Then I'll walk you through a step-by-step tutorial on beat making. So go to edu.bandlab.com, create your account, plug in your MIDI keyboard, and you'll be ready to start. This is the third tutorial in this series using Bandlab, which is a free web-based digital audio workstation software similar to apps like GarageBand. If you haven't already, I suggest watching the previous tutorials. The links are in the description of this video. In the previous videos, I covered how to engage students in music production by creating with pre-made audio loops. Students learned the basic components of a song and how to arrange them to control energy, mood, and flow. After students have completed some of these loop-based compositions, it's time to move on from pre-made loops to creating each of these components note by note. This is the equivalent of moving them from larger size Lego blocks to smaller ones. To understand how this works, you'll need to understand the difference between sequencing audio and sequencing MIDI. You're already familiar with sequencing audio. It's just a matter of placing the audio into the timeline of your DAW, and each audio file will be triggered as the playhead passes it on the timeline. With MIDI, this works in a similar way, but instead of arranging audio in the timeline inside an audio track, you arrange notes into the timeline inside a MIDI track. Each of these notes will trigger sounds in whatever virtual instrument is loaded into the MIDI track. This instrument can be anything from a synthesizer, which generates sounds, to a sampler, which plays back small pieces of sound. As the playhead passes each note in the timeline, it will trigger the note, which then triggers the sound. What's great about arranging MIDI as opposed to audio is that if you ever want to change the sound but keep the same patterns of notes, it's as easy as swapping out the virtual instrument in the software. Beat making is a great way to introduce the concept of sequencing MIDI to students. They're really fun for students to make, and they can create right away even if they don't have much experience with music theory. Drums are the song's foundation. They dictate the tempo and energy of a song. It's easy to understand this by seeing what happens to the energy of your music when you add and remove the drums. When you remove them, it instantly lowers the energy, and when you add them, it instantly increases it. There are two ways to make beats in a digital audio workstation. You can either arrange audio using one-shot samples, or you can arrange MIDI notes which trigger the one-shot samples. And when arranging MIDI notes, you can either record the notes in real time, or you can draw them in through step sequencing. For this tutorial, we'll focus on using MIDI. First, I'll show you how to record in real time, then I'll show you how to draw in the notes. This concludes the lesson, so let's go ahead and start the tutorial. First, let's make sure you're in edu.bandlab.com. Click on your account icon and go to Personal Projects, and you'll see all the projects you've been working on here. And you can click on Mix Editor to create a new project. First, we're going to start with beat making through RealTime Recording. So click on Instruments, and you'll see that the default instrument is the grand piano, and the MIDI device here selected is not what I want. This is Complete Audio 6. I want this to be my Launch Key Mini. Once I have that, I can play the notes on the keyboard. Now I can play this kit with the MIDI keyboard. And on this small 25 key MIDI keyboard, I need to make sure that I select -1 for the octave to go 1 octave down. And if I didn't have a MIDI keyboard, I could play the kit with the computer keyboard by simply selecting the letters that correspond with each of these parts of the kit. To make this beat, first I need to set my tempo. I'll choose 90 beats per minute, but you can choose whatever you like. I'll turn my metronome on, and I'll hit record. And what you'll see first is a 1-bar countdown. Then you'll see notes start getting recorded into the timeline as I play them on the MIDI keyboard. I'll create a beat that's 8 bars long, and in the first section of it, I'll keep the energy lower, and in the second section, I'll increase the energy. I've noticed in Bandlab that sometimes when I play the notes fast on the MIDI keyboard, the notes get dropped. And in particular, it happens more so when I'm recording here and I'm also doing my screen capture software recording at the same time. I don't know if this is a problem with Bandlab software or a problem with the keyboard or something in between the keyboard and the software. I do know that if I bypass the MIDI keyboard and go straight to the computer keyboard, I don't have this problem. You may have even noticed this while I was playing my pattern. Some of the notes came in slightly late after I'd hit them on the keyboard. The good news is we can correct the timing of any of these notes, which is what we're going to do right now. We're going to double click on this clip and you'll see all the notes here in the clip, and we can zoom out a little bit so we can see all of it. To give you an overview of what you're looking at, these notes are the MIDI notes that I've just recorded, which are the same notes that are up here, and you can see the different icons for the drum sounds, and I can audition each drum sound that lives in each particular row by clicking on them right here. There are actually more notes here. I just can't see them until I scroll up. So just keep that in mind. And I can make this a little bit bigger so that I can see all the notes in this pattern. If I zoom in a little bit, I can see how the timing of some of my notes is slightly off because it's not lined up with the grid. I can keep it this way to give it more of a human feel, or I can quantize these notes, which will move the beginning of each note to the nearest value that's listed here. For this beat, I want to show you how quantize works, so I'll go ahead and quantize, and I'll do that by selecting anywhere on this grid, typing Command A, which selects all the notes. Then I'm going to click the quantize button, which will force the beginning of the note to the nearest 16th note. Now I've seen them all move, and they're all in time, all the way down to the end of the pattern. Let's take a listen now. I like this 8-bar beat, but if I look up here, I notice that this is longer than 8 bars. 10 minus 1 equals 9. I need to have this clip and here. And the way I do this, I click on this and I use the handlebar to resize the size of the clip. Then what I'll do is, now that this is 9 minus 1, 8 bars long, I can extend this out as a loop by dragging the loop button to the right. And I can do this indefinitely as long as I want. Now you'll notice that if I play this from here, once it goes beyond the 9, it's just going to keep looping over and over again, and you can see the pattern. Now, most students won't be able to make beats in this way where they play all the notes at once and record it in a single take. Here's a way to record in real time, but layer one or more sounds at a time. First, I'm going to zoom out and I'm going to make this beat back into an 8-bar section so that I can move it around and save it for later. I'm going to move this off to the side, just get it out of the way. We can come back to that later. And then I'll zoom back in to the beginning of the project. Next, I'm going to select an 8-bar section. So I'm going to select up here, drag to the left, 9 minus 1 equals 8. And when I hit record and I start recording notes here, when the playhead gets all the way to the end, it's going to loop back to the beginning of this loop section. I'm going to record this beat in 3 total rounds of this loop. The first round will be a kick and snare loop for 8 bars. This is going to loop back to the beginning. Then I'll add hi-hats for the 8 bars. That'll loop back to the beginning one more time. Then I'll add some toms. Before I continue, I noticed that when you switch back and forth between the MIDI editor and the instrument, If you have more than one MIDI device connected to your computer, it will default to one of them, and that's not always going to be the one that you actually want to use. In this case, I want to use the Launch Key Mini. And each time I go back and forth between MIDI editor and instrument, I have to reselect it. See? So just be aware of that. I'm not sure if this is a glitch with the program. If it is, hopefully they fix it in future updates, or if it's something that I'm missing, hopefully Bandlab can let me know what that is. But for now, just be aware of that. Now I'm ready to start recording. Now you can see this is on the second round of the loop. When the playhead comes back around, this will say 3, and that's when I'll add the hi-hats. Last, I'll add some toms. Now I can go back to MIDI editor mode and quantize the notes. I'm going to click somewhere on the grid and Command A, select all the notes, and then I'm going to quantize to the nearest 16th note. Now let's listen. Now let's take a listen. Now that we've looked at beat making by recording notes in real time, let's now look at beat making through step sequencing, which is where you draw in the notes with no performance required. First, let's zoom out and get all of our clips up here out of the way. Next, we're going to add a new track with a different instrument. Click on Drum Machine here, and you'll see an instrument loaded into the MIDI track. You'll see that there are 2 patterns already created, which you can hear by clicking the play button in the transport section. So with step sequencing, you can see that it's a matter of drawing the notes into the individual steps in the step sequencer. And in this case, we're using the drum machine built into Bandlab. Each of these rows has its own drum sample, and each of these dots is a note that triggers playback of each sample within this 1 bar timeline. 1 bar equals 4 beats. 1, 2, 3, 4. You can easily see the division of the beats by the alternating light and dark sections of the grid. This particular pattern A is using 4 drum samples, 1, 2, 3, 4, and pattern B is using 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. To make the beat, you simply click on the appropriate step to add a note. You can also click on existing notes to delete them, and you can add multiple notes by dragging, and delete multiple notes by dragging as well. Before I make this beat, I'm going to go ahead and change the tempo to something a little bit more appropriate for this particular type of kit. This is an 808 kit, which is heavily used in a lot of current rap music, and a lot of the current rap songs are around 70 beats per minute, give or take. Let's listen one more time to pattern A at 70 beats per minute. Now I'm going to make this beat, and I'm going to get rid of all the notes except for these 2 snares, the one on the 2 beat and the one on the 4 beat. Remember, it goes 1, 2, 3, 4. You'll notice in a lot of music that you listen to, a snare or something that sounds like a snare will happen on beat number 2 and beat number 4. So for this reason, this is how I start everyone out when I teach them beat making. Always put a snare or something that sounds like a snare on the 2 beat and the 4 beat, and always add a kick to the 1 beat. Listen to this first, then add different elements to make the beat. First, let's listen to these 3, and you'll find that it's very easy to follow the rhythm once these 3 elements are in place. See, it's very easy to follow that rhythm. Now I'm going to click play on the instrument and create a new pattern A here. Now starting off with the same kick, snare, snare pattern, I'm going to change pattern B as well. Now I want to change this arrangement so it goes from pattern A to B, and so forth. So I'm going to get rid of these patterns, and I'm going to move the playhead back to 1, click on A here and add A, then go over to bar number 2, click on B, add B. Then I can select both of these. I can Command C to copy, move the playhead to 3, Command V to paste. And I want to duplicate this one more time so we get a full 8 bars. I can select all 4, and here's another way you can copy. Hold Alt down, drag the pattern to the right while holding Alt. Now I can listen all the way from 1 to bar number 9, 8 bars. And I can turn the metronome off for you right now. Since we're using MIDI instead of audio, we can keep the same patterns but change the instrument. For example, I can play this and select a different kit entirely. So you can see with step sequencing, students don't need any rhythm to create beats. They just need to arrange the notes, assess the result, and continue until they've made something that they like. This is the best way to introduce students to beat making, since it lets them go directly to creating without having to practice and perfect their rhythm. Some students may want to stay on step sequencing for their beats, others may want to go on to real-time recording. It's really just personal preference and more than one option to make beats. I'll show you one more way to step sequencing beats. I'm going to zoom out and move these out of the way, and I'll zoom back in. Then I'll add one more track, and I'll add another instrument. This will be similar to before. I'm going to select drum kits, and this time I'll select the hip-hop kit. And once again, this MIDI device is defaulting to this right here, and I want this to be Launch Key Mini. For this type of step sequencing, instead of drawing the notes into the built-in drum machine, I'm going to draw them into the mix editor. Here's how you do it. I'll make sure the playhead is at the beginning of the project, then I'll right-click into the track and create region. This creates an empty MIDI clip that's 4 bars long. I'm going to double-click this and I will see the MIDI editor. Now I can audition each one of these the same way that I did before. I'm going to look at my grid here and notice that each of the beats of the bar are listed here after the beat number. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is bar number 2. Beat number 2, 3, 4, 3, and so forth. So before I make this beat, I'm going to go ahead and zoom in so that I can see at least 1 bar, and I want at least 16 steps per bar, which is what we see here. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 times 4 is 16 steps. Then I'm going to find my snare. I'm going to add a snare to the 2 beat and the 4 beat. And you'll notice that the default size is an entire beat. I don't want this to be this long because whenever I draw in other notes, I want them to be much shorter. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to resize this. I'm going to resize this. And after this, every note that I draw in will be whatever the last size note was. For example, if I go here, this will be the right size. That's the right size, and so forth. For this beat, I'll go ahead and change the tempo to 100 beats per minute. And I'm going to zoom in up top. And I'm going to loop only a 1 bar section this time. And this will make sure that the playhead loops between bars 1 and 2. Then I can draw the notes in each of the steps. I'll click on the pencil tool, click play, and start drawing in the notes. Now that you know how step sequencing works in Mix Editor, I'll go ahead and create the rest of this beat, and you can watch it and fast forward and then take a listen to it at the end. Now the beat is finished. Let's go ahead and take a listen. So that's it for this beatmaking project. I'm going to go ahead and rename this Beatmaking 2 and click Save, and that'll be it. Now, if I want to export my project into a single audio file, I can click on Download, but it's going to download the entire project. So, like if I zoom out here, I can see the rest of the patterns. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to remove the first 2 tracks and export. And it'll export just this beat. And what I'll do is I'll go ahead and just make this twice as long. Now it will export a 16-bar beat. And I'll just go ahead and download a 320K MP3. Now if I want to actually see what the MP3 looks like, I can open it in Finder and simply drag this back into the project. And we can see what the waveform looks like for the entire beat. Thanks for watching this video. If it was helpful, please give the video a thumbs up and share it with your colleagues. And please comment below and let me know if this is something that you could integrate in your classrooms. And of course, if you'd like to contact me directly, hit me up on socials. And music educators, you are invited to join the Mix Major Teacher Connect Facebook group. This is a great community where music educators and music technology teachers can collaborate and learn from one another. Once again, my name is Eric Howe. This is Mix Major Teacher TV, and I'll see you next time.
Deep inside and you'll find it's right.